So the name of the game, like I said to you before, was Bailout.
Asked about the massive bonuses recently awarded to the CEOs of JP Morgan, Chase, and Goldman Sachs. The president responded with this quote: "I know both those guys. They're very savvy businessmen. I, like most of the American people, don't begrudge people's success or wealth. That is part of the free market system." I think that might be the most disconnected thing the president has said since he's taken office. He used the wrong method to explain that he's pro-business. You see, the Republicans for a long time have always been trying to paint the Democrats as not business-friendly, and I think the president kind of served something up for him there. For more on this, let me bring in Florida Congressman Alan Grayson. Mr. Grayson, great to have you on tonight. What?
Deep state, one party.
What do you make of the president's comment? Why is he warming up to Wall Street
Not this
bonuses,
guy.
or is he?
He is saying that's what
Obama.
Well, he analogizes to what ball players make. You know, Wall Street people make millions, ball players make millions. I guess I see his point. I mean, ball players entertain us and Wall Street steals from us.
Okay. But please don't tell me, and I'm not saying this to you, but that the president, on the heels of a 5-4 vote by the Supreme Court that corporations can now just give unlimited cash in campaigns, that all of a sudden he sees it's kind of important to say, you know, maybe I better let these guys know that they're not making too much money. Or is that too
What
suggestive?
I think people are missing, Ed, is this. We had a national tragedy, an economic disaster that took place barely a year ago. In the last 18 months of the Bush administration, America lost $12 trillion on its net worth. That's $40,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country. And I cannot think of a single person who's held responsible for that. Nobody in government, nobody on Wall Street, nobody nowhere. That's the fundamental problem right now. And if people on Wall Street are going to continue to get great bonuses in good times and in bad times, we can kiss this economy goodbye. It's not going to work. In capitalism, winners have to win and losers have to lose, and nobody's been held responsible for that enormous erosion. 20% of our accumulated wealth over the course of 2 centuries gone in 18 months. Nobody's been punished for that. That's the problem.
And how do you feel about these bonuses these CEOs are getting?
They're playing with other people's money. It's heads I win, tails you lose. And in this case, you is America. They're taking other people's money, sweeping it up, and using it to gamble. And when they win, they keep it, and when they lose, you lose.
Will the president and the Democrats pay a political price if they fail to get financial reform on Wall Street? Is the populist...
So I wanted to just play that little piece, because this was during the bailouts. And just to let you know that that's what was going on with the banks. They were handing out millions of dollars
like candy.
of bonuses like candy. Okay, so I'm going to play for you one last clip here about the bailout system here. And I wanted to go ahead and start with this because this documentary does. There's a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose
this plot. Now, that was JFK. Before he left office, he was going to expose this plot. And yet he didn't get a chance to leave office, now did he?
Because he was assassinated.
Because he was going to expose the plot.
Okay. There's a table on page 26 which consists of your balance sheet. And one of the entries on the balance sheet is under assets, central bank liquidity swaps, which shows an increase from the end of 2007 from $24 billion to $553 billion in change at the end of 2008. What's that?
Those are swaps that were done with foreign central banks. Many foreign banks are short dollars and so into our markets looking for dollars and drive up interest rates and create volatility in our markets. What we've done is, with a number of major central banks, like European Central Bank, for example, we swap our currency, dollars, for their currency, euros. They take the dollars, lend it out to the banks in their jurisdiction. That helps bring down interest rates in the global market for dollars. And meanwhile, we're not lending to those banks, we're lending to the central bank. The central bank is responsible for repaying us.
So who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries.
Which ones?
I don't know.
$500 billion, and you don't know who got the money?
The loan went to the loans go to the central banks, and they then put them out to their institutions to try to bring down short-term interest rates in dollar markets around the world.
Well, let's start with which central banks got the money.
There are 14 of them, which are listed I'm sure they're listed in here somewhere.
Sure, they're listed in
All
there
right,
somewhere.
so who actually made that decision to hand out $1 trillion that way? $500 billion. Who made that decision?
The Federal Open Market Committee.
Okay, and was it done at one time or in a series of
A
meetings?
series of meetings.
And under what legal authority?
We have a long-standing legal authority to do swaps with other central banks. It's not an emergency authority of any kind.
Anything specific about it?
Do you know my counsel says Section 14 of the Federal Reserve Act.
All right, we actually looked at one of the arrangements, and one of the arrangements is $9 billion for New Zealand. That works out to $3,000 for every single person who lives in New Zealand. Seriously, wouldn't it be better to extend that kind of credit to Americans rather than New Zealanders?
It's not costing Americans anything. We're getting interest back and it comes back. It's not at the cost of any American credit. We are extending credit to Americans.
Well, wouldn't it necessarily affect the credit markets if you extend $500 billion in credit to anybody?
We are lending to all U.S. Financial institutions in exactly the same way.
Well, look at the next page. The very next page has the U.S. dollar nominal exchange rate, which shows a 20% increase in the U.S. dollar nominal exchange rate at exactly the same time that you were handing out $500 billion to foreigners. Do you think that's a coincidence?
Yes.
All right, well, the Constitution says, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law.
This money is not drawn from the Treasury.
Well, let's talk about that. Do you think it's consistent with the spirit of that provision of the Constitution for a group like the FMOC to hand out $500 billion to foreigners without any action by this Congress?
Congress approved it in the Federal Reserve Act.
When was that?
Very telling.
Quite a long time ago. I don't know the exact date.
Oh, you don't know the exact date.
Holy smokes! Y'all, he just said, I don't even know the exact date. And he's playing with your buddy. And I just wanted to bring this up because I really appreciate Alan Grayson for just calling out the Federal Reserve for what it is. It's fake. Fiat money. And just randomly, it doesn't matter to them. They can loan out money to whoever. They can print money to whoever. If a bank's short dollars, it doesn't matter to them. It's fake to them.
Can we get back to the Constitution, please?
Yeah.
The Constitution gives power to Congress to coin and print money,
Right.
and to Congress only. Congress, in the Federal Reserve Act, which Mr. Bernanke was in 1913, it was actually a winter. Everyone was on Christmas break. They planned it that way. So they now have that power to coin and print money. So that's why Alan Grayson is saying, do you think in the spirit of that, so in that moment, Alan Grayson says, actually, all of those rights and everything in your Constitution went up in smoke when we got all the power.
You reelected in 1914, I believe.
It was 13.
I don't know whether this provision was in 1914 or not, but the Federal Reserve Act was in 1913.
Oh, now you
All right,
remember.
and at that time, the entire gross national product of this country was well under $500 billion, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Is it safe to say that nobody in 1913 contemplated that your small little group of people would decide to hand out $500 billion to foreigners?
This particular authority has been used numerous times over the years.
Actually, according to the chart on page 28, virtually the entire amount that's reflected in your current balance sheet went out starting in the last quarter of 2007, and before that, going back to the beginning of this chart, the amount of lending was zero to foreigners.
It was zero before the crisis, yeah. This was part of the process with the central banks to, again, to try to get dollar money markets working normally in the global economy.
All right, my time is very limited.
Gentleman's time is expired. The gentleman from New York.
Chairman.
Well, that
Okay.
was well done anyway.
The point was there's so many lies and so many twists and so many turns, and I guess what they were saying is that there was other laws in 1914. I don't actually know those particular ones. They got me. He's like, well, everybody knows 1913. We just know that. I can do anything. 1913, I can do anything I want. And as Grayson pointed out, they weren't actually doing this. He said, well, we've just been doing this for years and years and years. No, not since the bailout. So when the bailout was happening, there was bailouts all over the globe. And I want you guys to recognize that these giant elites, they play with money, they play with monopoly money, and when their gambles don't work, things fall. And they have to keep printing more money. And this kind of ends our segment. And, you know, hopefully things will turn around.
We don't want you guys to walk away from this frustrated,
Right.
because part of, and I want to bring it all back around while Sydney is still very upset about this, as are you, she's speaking your voice, is the fact that when Donald Trump was elected, when he was inaugurated, it had nothing to do, and I hope this doesn't offend our Trumpers, with Donald Trump. But it had everything to do with the fact that people are waking up.
Right.
And a move of God and a move toward righteousness and justice and liberty for all. So Jasper is very enthusiastic about this. The Holy Spirit's in here.
have a husky.
Happened for our nation. And everybody's waking up. Everybody's getting red pilled. And there has been a shift.
Right.
A tide is shifting. Change is happening. The Fed is going to get audited. Listen, the dollar is going to collapse. Put your seatbelt on for that, because you can't have a monetary system that loses 95% of its value. Guess what, guys? We only got 5% left to go until it's nothing. Okay, and that is
That's
going
one
to
way to
happen
look at it, sure.
at this rate. At this rate of exponential lending and creating money out of thin air,
Right.
it's a big balloon and it is about to burst. It is going to happen, and I know a lot of people are very afraid of that. Why are you guys wanting that? It's gonna. I'm sorry, it's got to happen. It has to happen, and it's going to be a flushing like a toilet. It's going to be like a toilet flushing.
That's the best way to drain the swamp, by the way.
A fast flushing to drain the swamp.
I was cold.